You know when you have a crazy idea that just pops into your mind and your brain has to kind of go like, whoa, let's take a step back, this is a stupid idea. Yeah, my brain is not stepping in at the moment, so here we go. This is the start of a new vlog series. Let's see if I stick to this, because I don't tend to stick to things in my life, so who knows. But I had a crazy idea pop into my mind like 5 seconds ago, not really 5 minutes ago I guess, and I'm going to follow through on it. Am I a person who's really bad at continuously vlogging? Yes. So is this a stupid idea? Probably. But I had this idea pop into my mind because I saw like a video suggested to me, and I haven't even watched the video yet. The idea just immediately came into my mind. It was a video by Dominic from Dominic's Books or Dominic's Reads. I'll have the channel link down below and I'll have the video link down below, because as I indicated, I even still need to watch it myself. But it was basically saying that he was going to be sampling his own TBR. So this is a video concept that is not new to YouTube, so people tend to kind of, I don't know, either randomly or based on some other criteria, select a few books off of their own TBR and kind of give them a go. Like read the first chapter, for example, to see if this is a book that they're, for example, still interested in, or one that they might want to prioritize, or one that they might want to get rid of. And I watched that video and my brain went, why don't I do that with all the books that are currently on my TBR card? Because if you are not new here, then you know that I'm trying to get to 0 TBR again. And so I was like, yeah, why don't I do that? You know, like just sample all of them, read a chapter in all of them, and then kind of decide which ones I'm going to be focusing on next on that card based off that experiment. But the crazy side of my brain then was like, but what if we go further than that? What if, rather than just sampling all the books in my TBR, what if I just start all the books in my TBR and keep this going until I finish them all? So, is this crazy? Yes. We are talking about starting 15 books, more or less at the same time, and just like making little progress here and there in all of them until I've finished them. I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to books, so how am I going to be able to keep track of the different storylines that I'm reading in all of these books? Who knows? I have books coming my way that will have to be added into this project the moment that they arrive. So is this a stupid plan? Yes. Am I super tempted to just do it? Yes. So let's go. So before you all declare me insane, let's talk about some of the logical things behind this project. First up, I do tend to read multiple books at the same time. Now, of course, we are not talking about 15 books at the same time. We are talking about at most 5 at the same time. And whenever I do read 5 at the same time, I typically feel kind of overwhelmed, and I tend to feel like I'm not making progress on anything. And that is the downfall with this sort of strategy. It's like at the beginning, it feels like you're making progress in nothing. And then it is rewarding at the end when you're finishing like multiple things at the same time. And so it feels like, you know, like all of a sudden you're making this huge progress. But throughout the process, it can feel like nothing is moving along because you're just like chipping away at multiple things at the same time. So yes, I tend to prefer to read multiple things at the same time, but the pitfall here is a lack of progress, or a lack of seeing progress. So that is what is going to be one of the big downfalls here, one of the potential downfalls here. Now, as I indicated, I do tend to read multiple things at the same time. However, it tends to be some sort of a logic behind it. You know, I commute to work by bicycle. I listen to an audiobook while on the bicycle. So this is an extra downfall here in the sense that I don't have any of these books in an audio format. Potentially I might have one in the meantime of these, but for the most part, none of these books I have the audiobook version for, meaning on my commute I will be listening to something else, or I should start listening to music on my commute, for example, to not confuse my brain further by adding another book into the mix. So that is one of the ways in which I get more reading done, is by having audiobooks on the commute, audiobooks while I'm cooking, for example, audiobooks while I'm cleaning. That would either fall away or would be additional books on top of these 15 that I have currently going on. And when I choose to read multiple books at the same time, a lot of times they also cover different needs or wants. You know, I might have a fantasy book in there, a literary fiction in there, for example, a non-fiction. I tend to have books that are easily distinguishable from one another, so that I don't tend to have that sort of like, to kind of avoid the confusion on my brain side, to not have my brain have to kind of figure out which story we're jumping back into, but making it as easy as possible for my brain. But the majority of my TBR, the majority of the books on my TBR card will all be books that are fantasy for the majority, so we will not be able to use that strategy here, for example. So not that good. Second reason why there is some logic to this is that with this idea of sampling your TBR and with reading multiple books at the same time, what tends to happen in my case is that a book kind of naturally distinguishes itself from the rest. A book kind of naturally takes priority. Sometimes this is due to necessity, like you need to read a book for a certain book club, for example, and so if you want to be able to read it at the same time as the other people who are signed up for that, then you need to be reading it for a certain date, for example. But a lot of times it's just natural. A lot of times it's just like, okay, I'm reading 5 books at the same time, but there's one book that's really calling to me, one book that I really want to be making progress in, and so that book kind of naturally takes priority, and it's like a book that, you know, I need less focus power on or anything like that, because it's just all going smoothly. And so if starting all of them at the same time, what I assume is going to happen is that some of these books are going to take priority in my brain, and so while I may start out by reading 15 books at the same time, in reality what will happen is that out of those 15 there might be 2 or 3 that I'm really like prioritizing at the moment, and then when those are done, like another one of those other books will fill in that gap, hopefully. I hope to not get to the point where at the end I only have books that I'm actually not that interested in all that much. But if that were the case, I guess at that point in time I could also be like, look, apparently I'm not all that interested in the rest of my TBR anymore, and I could also make decisions based on that, of course. But so, yeah, there is some logic to this madness, but it is still madness. So without further ado, let's just go into the madness. So as indicated, I have 15 books currently on my TBR. These are books that are physically on my TBR, and there are 2 books, I think, at this point in time, which are actually ebooks. No, 3 books that are actually ebooks. So meaning that I purchased them after I decided to start logging my TBR. So there are some books on my Kindle that I actually also own, but I don't count them for this project because they are like the backlog from before I started this whole idea. So I will tackle them at some point. Aside from those, I do have 1 book at the very least that will slot its way into this project, which is The Waking Fire by Anthony Ryan, because it's the August book for my own read along. And then let's already mention it because it's definitely going to happen in September. There will be the next book for my read along that also will need to be slotted into this, because but actually I think the September book is a book on my physical TBR, so that is actually like perfect. So it will be the October book that will most likely also have to fit its way into this, because I really don't think that I'm going to be finishing this project before October unless this is going to turn out to be such a success. But I do have books on the way to me. I have an Illumicrate books box that has just shipped, so that book will be added. I have 2 books, I think, with a release date in August that will be added to my TBR soon as well. So yeah, we are not just chipping away at it. There will be books that will be coming in as well. So insanity, it is insanity, but we are doing it. So welcome to week 1. For week 1, it is a bit of a bad week to start with, let's be honest about that. But I do want to stop going into projects like this with the idea of needing like a perfect time to slot it in, because as a consequence it's never happening. If I wait for that like beginning of the next month, or for that perfect month in which I don't have too many other plans that can come in the way of it, it's just not happening. And by the time that we get to that month, I might not be interested in the project anymore or anything like that, or might have forgotten about it. So we are just jumping straight in. I will definitely not be starting 15 books today, because it's a regular weekday evening. I don't even think like I need the entire evening then to read first chapters just to be able to do this project. And I'm not entirely sure yet when I'm gonna slot the Waking Fire into this month, but it's not gonna be this week, because this week is a short week in Belgium. The 15th of August is a bank holiday. It is the Ascension of Mary, and that is counted as a bank holiday in Belgium. Nobody really celebrates it here except for the people in Antwerp, because there it's also Mother's Day. Now we all have the bank holiday, and because it's always a Thursday, now we all have the bank holiday. It is a Thursday this week, meaning that a lot of people are making the bridge into Friday, and I will be one of those. I'm going with friends to the Netherlands, to Den Haag, on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So 3 days out of this week I'm off. I will be taking a book with me, and we do have a pretty long train drive to the Netherlands, but we also will be changing trains twice, and I will be with one friend at the very least for quite a long section of the journey, and two of my friends in total from like Mechelen on to Den Haag. So the most time I will be spending with friends on the train, so we will probably be chatting at least for part of that trajectory, and potentially for all of that trajectory. But I will take a book with me, because you never know, and I will definitely have sometimes at least to myself on the beginning of the commute. But yeah, don't expect there to be much progress there. So I feel like this first week is already going to be a little bit of an annoying first week, because it's going to be one in which potentially I'm not going to be finishing anything, which is not a preferable way to start something like this. But as indicated, I just want to get a start on it, because if I don't start it, it's just not gonna happen. So for tonight, what am I starting? Good question. I have no idea. This is the most overwhelming part, I guess, of this project, because to some extent, as I indicate, I'm going to be starting all of them. I have actually started 2, so I am already reading Kushiel's Mercy by Jacqueline Carey. I haven't read that in months. And then I'm also reading Gold by Raven Kennedy. And so those are my two current reads, and then I have the audiobook, The Saturday Morning Runners Club, which I will be listening to on my commute, as long as I still have it, because I only started it this morning. But so all of the rest is just like, where do I start? I will be starting all of them within the first week. I guess that should be my goal for this week. By the end of this week, I will have had to have started all 15 of these. But still, somehow it feels like a choice which ones of them I'm tackling first, which ones I'm sampling first. But I'm also probably just overthinking that. So yeah, I'm gonna be preparing dinner now. Let's put this whole idea of where I'm starting on the back burner. Let me start making dinner, and then I'll have a rethink about this. Because one of the books that I'm going to be starting should be the book that I'm taking with me to the Netherlands. Even though I could just read on my e-reader in the Netherlands. Maybe. Thinking, too much thinking. Alright, I've decided that this moment in its insanity needs sushi, so as I indicated, I'm still here 3 evenings this week, and so I have a HelloFresh meal for 2 of those. So for tonight I thought, let's just get sushi, so that I can get started on this project that is currently really motivating me. And it is super warm today, so I don't want to add warmth into this apartment, though I will have to do so tomorrow when I'm actually preparing that last HelloFresh meal. But so I think having thought about it for 5 seconds, and how I'm going to start is I'm just going to be reading a chapter in each of the 2 things that I have already started that are on that TBR0 project, so that, you know, I can feel like I've made some progress in those 2 today at least. So that would be Kushiel's Mercy, which I haven't read in for a very long time, so it would also be nice to feel like I'm actually doing something with that read again. And then Gold, which I'm sure will probably be one of the books that's kind of taking priority in this project in the beginning stages, even though I must say that with this book, I feel like some of the like urge has gone out of me reading this series, because this series has been a whirlwind for me. I have been reading so much since I picked this one up on a whim, like last Sunday. So last Sunday, I read like 3 of the books in the series in succession in a day, over 1,000 pages in one day, crazy day. And so now, due to circumstances which people might understand if they've read the series, this book has been less of a movement for me. I've been less addicted to it, I guess. So I will go through it a little bit slower compared to what I've been going through, how I've been handling this series so far. But so yeah, that is what I'm gonna start off with. I'm just gonna ease myself into this project by just getting some progress in the 2 things that I'm already reading. Welcome what will be the location for most of my video clips for this entire project, aka the sofa, my favorite reading spot. So I have gotten back from work. It is Tuesday, and I yesterday started 2 more books. I'm reading 5 books at the same time now, of which 4 are on my TBR. So I also started Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. Don't have much of a grasp of the story yet. Seems to have sort of like cultish vibes. It's a girl, or like a woman, returning to her parental home. She has, like, her mother took her away from her father when she was young, and she hasn't returned since. And so now she's kind of thinking back on her past, but also when she goes into the basement, there's a guy strung up on a tree there or something like that. Not dead, which was my assumption when I read that premise, but apparently not dead, or at least he's talking. Who knows? Maybe he's dead. And then I also read like the first few pages already of A Principle of Moments by Esme. I don't know the last names of that author. That didn't really tell me much. It's just like a little bit of an introduction into the mythology of this world. Kind of gave me like 3 timestamps for the development of this world, like a little bit of an origin story, and then like looking at a little bit of its later development. So I didn't really have much of that done yet yesterday because I was quite tired by the time that I got to that. So today I have just made myself some soup because I have to like finish my HelloFresh before I go to Den Haag. And this was really inconvenient because it's very warm days nowadays, and this was a soup recipe. So yeah, I'm overheating a lot right now, but we are sticking through with it. And so today I didn't really know what to read, but then I just asked on Sprints, and Barbara gave me a number. And so based on the number on my card, this one, Timeline by Michael Crichton, this is the Dutch edition, that's why it says something else there, is up next. So a sci-fi thriller, let's get cracking on it. I am joining Barbara sprints, and so I think that I will just do it sprint by sprint. So for these 42 minutes that are left at this point in time, I'll be reading this book, and then the next sprint I'll start another one, and then the next sprint I'll start another one, and that way I'll also be starting 3 more books today compared to what I was currently reading yesterday already. So it is Wednesday evening. Tomorrow I'm leaving for Den Haag for 3 days. And yesterday I did start 2 more books. So yesterday I started The Will of the Many by James Islington. So this is a new book in the series Roman Empire inspired. I've only read the first chapter in that, more or less, at this point in time, or maybe a little bit more. No, I think only the first chapter, because they were pretty long chapters, and so like I was just going to read like for 40 minutes in it, and so at the end of the first chapter I was like, okay, I'll stop here, because that seems like the best place to stop in terms of that timing. But I did really find that intriguing so far, and I did really love the like Alias trilogy by James Islington, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna really enjoy this one as well. And then I also started Timeline by Michael Crichton. This is the book that I got for like €1, which is the reason why I bought it. Otherwise it would not have been in this project, because you know, it's an older book by Michael Crichton, and Michael Crichton I've had like an up and down relationship with in terms of his books, and so otherwise I wouldn't have like done it within this project, but because it was just like €1, I was like, okay, fine, let me give it a go. But that one definitely reads a lot quicker, so I've read like a big chunk of it already, like a decent chunk of it already in the 40 minutes that I was dedicating to that one. And that one is like a time travel novel, so at this point in time it just has sort of like the introduction to it only, of like a guy like stumbling upon a mystery man somewhere in the desert, and then like so we don't have any sort of like thing to do with the time travel yet, but I'm sure that is going to come, because that's part of the synopsis. But so yeah, I am currently now reading 7 books at the same time. In terms of what I'll be starting today, so I want to start 3 more books today, and I think that I'm actually going to start by reading 3 books of Rob J. Hayes. These are books that I got in a Kickstarter campaign, and they're basically 3 books that are going to be starting 3 series. And each series is going to be taking part in the same world, but at different points in time of the history of this world. And so in each of these series, a new book is going to come out at the same time. So we'll be like continuing each 3 of these timelines separately, and I find that to be an interesting concept. I think it will be interesting to see the sort of like implications of like the way that certain events are described in later books, and then kind of slowly throughout the books figuring out what has actually happened. So those are the books that I'm going to be reading right now, and actually I should have brought them over to the table so that I could display them for you guys here. So I'll do that just now, and the magic of editing will make this seem like no big deal. So yeah, I have to do some research to figure out what the order is of these, but so we have Annals of the Goth Eater, Archive of the Goth Eater, and this one is Age of the Goth Eater. This does not have the title here, it has the title over there, and it also has the same sort of like cover art on the naked hardback. So the naked hardback has a sort of like traditional front of it, Age of the Goth Eater. And so I need to figure out what the order is of these. As you can see, these 2 are relatively short, easy to get through, but this one will be a massive brick to get through. But so I am going to be including them to some extent within this vlog, but I am probably going to do a separate vlog for this entire experience of reading these 3 books, because, you know, there's a thematic link between all 3 of them, and that way I can then repeat it as well when the next books within this series come out. I can do the same sort of type of vlog. So I will definitely be talking a little bit about them today or tomorrow, or maybe potentially more like on Sunday or Saturday evening when I'm back from Netherlands, in order to give you my sort of like first idea about what, you know, I feel about this series. But so yeah, the rest of the clips for the next coming days are going to be filmed within Den Haag. I don't know how much filming I'll do there, probably not that much, but I will kind of give some glimpses of, you know, like the trip we had over there. But so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going with 2 other vegetarians. We are going to very much be enjoying embracing vegetarian lifestyle while there. But so yeah, let me get to reading now. everybody. I am back from Den Haag. I am also ready to go and sprint shortly, so this is going to be a very short clip. Basically, I had a great time in Den Haag. I did film quite a bit, so there will have been a lengthy section with some of the impressions of my visit to the city. And yeah, I had a great time there. I was there with two other vegetarian friends, so we had such good food because we went to all of like the majorly vegetarian restaurants, so we had like a ton of options to choose from all the time. And because we were all vegetarians, we could choose like many vegetarian dishes and share them, so great times. And I really enjoyed the city a lot as well. And yeah, I'm back now. I have no memory of the books that I read prior to going to Den Haag. All I really remember about those three books from Rob J. Hayes is that I realized that it was probably gonna be quite confusing if I were to really read them like at the same time, because some of these characters kind of overlap between the two series. So I think it's like a character who lives for a very long time, and I feel like we had the same name in the first book that I read and the second book that I read. The third book that I read definitely had different types of characters, but I'm not really sure yet whether I'm really gonna be reading them at the same time, like really like simultaneously going through chapter of one and then the other and then the other. In any case, one of them is much longer than the two other ones because it might lead to confusion. On the other hand, that might just be like really interesting to kind of jump between them like that. However, is that going to be like super conducive to my enjoyment of the story? That is kind of my doubt here, but I need to go live now, so check in with you guys later. Alright guys, so let's change up the view here a little bit and give you a little bit of a different angle, though it's a much messier angle. And apparently I cannot fully hold up the camera correctly this way, but I have now finished starting my final book. So I'm currently reading all of my own books with the exception of a one, which is The Sky on Fire, which is my September book for my readathon. I'm just gonna put yourself in this like super unsatisfactory angle because this is just like much easier for my shoulder. But so I am now reading all of my books plus the Saturday morning run club or something like that, which is my commute audiobook. So I've started all of them, and now it'll be like that is the goal for this week. So I'm basically going to end the video more or less around here, but I'm just gonna give you like a little bit of a conclusion for how this week has been going. I'm actually surprised about the fact that for a big chunk of these books, like almost all of them, I do still remember what happened in that first chapter. I can kind of relatively easily like bring them to mind and distinguish them from one another. The one exception being those Rob J. Hayes books that I don't really know that much about anymore. And then that's The Principle of Moments. So those 4 books out of the 16 that I'm currently reading are the ones that have kind of suffered at the moment, but we'll see when I kind of start to prioritize those, what will end up happening with those. But there are also some clear standouts. There are some books that have really drawn my attention that are the ones that probably mean that I have to kind of like prioritize them because they're the ones that I'm most drawn to out of these 16. And I would say like I'm gonna nominate 3 of them probably as being like the ones that are currently like today, the ones that I'm most excited about starting, which are or like continuing because I started them all, is The Will of the Many by James Islington, The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan, and Disobedience by Elizabeth Fremantle. Those are the 3 that I've like only sampled recently that I feel like I'm very intrigued about and really want to be continuing with. And then out of the ones that I have a little bit more progress, I would also say like let's add Glow by Raven Kennedy into that mix. No, Gold by Raven Kennedy is the one that I'm up to now. I will say that I'm like feeling that one a little bit less due to the way in which this story plays out compared to the previous ones within the series. And so I am finding myself not as invested with that one as I was with previous ones within the series. But as we're moving into the second half of that book, probably we're gonna get into some storylines that like work better for what I enjoy in this series, or we're going to definitely towards the end get there, I'm assuming. And then yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say, because I was going to say like Kushiel's Mercy, but actually I still feel like with Kushiel's Mercy, we are still at sort of like the very beginning stages of that book. And so while I'm really enjoying the dynamics that we have there between some characters, I feel like the story is still about to take off, and so I cannot really yet say, like, I don't really know yet how I'm going to feel about the direction that this plot is going to be taking. So probably indeed those are like the ones that I'm mainly going to be interested in right now. I'm trying to figure out what that is probably the Will of the Many. So yeah, those four, so the four books that I originally mentioned, those are going to be the ones that I think we're going to see the most progress on. And so probably for next week, thanks to a suggestion from Natalie, my goal for next week is going to be to make sure that out of these 16 books, for 5 of them at the very least, I am like over halfway through. Oh, and I should say, like, the fifth book that I'm really, really into right now is the Saturday Morning Run Club, but that's like the one that I like, the one that's least needed for me to make progress in, because it's basically supposed to just be the commute book, and like when I'm cooking and I want an audiobook type of book, when I'm cleaning and I want an audiobook, that can be the book. But it's the one that I'm now like, I'm really looking forward to the work week. So that is a benefit to this, I guess, because I'm really looking forward to the work week, because that means that I get to continue in the Saturday Morning Run Club. So yeah, those are the 5 books that probably are going to be the easiest for me to get to that goal over the course of next week. And I should also definitely be starting The Waking Fire by Anthony Ryan then, because we are entering into the last 2 weeks of this month, and that is the August book. So I want to make sure that, you know, if it isn't one that like takes me by storm, I still have more than enough time to like slowly make my way through that one. But so yeah, with that, I'm going to be rounding off this particular vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely give me some tips or tricks, or maybe suggestions for challenges that I can do certain weeks with this particular project, and let me know what you think about this. Would you ever be crazy enough to read all of your unread books at the same time? And you know, just how crazy do you think I am? So yeah, I apparently interrupted myself, but so I was saying that I think my plan is a little bit bonkers, but so far it's actually turned out pretty decently. So let's see how long it takes for this one to spiral completely outside of my control. But so yeah, with that, I'm ending this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you guys for the next one. Bye!